as we know by now, the Eagles continue to find ways to win games. Continue this winning streak. That's now at 6 games, with a 33-10 win at home against the 49ers. The 49ers remain winless on the season. They're 0-8, and the Eagles obviously look. It was a um, it wasn't a it wasn't a cleanly played game for the offense. I mean, they gave up some sacks to Wentz, and there were plays that were kind of left on the field that were could have been made, probably should have been made. Otherwise, the score probably would have been higher. But you take it. It's a week to week league, and every week, if you get a win, it's a good week, and you take it any way you can get it. And um, we all kind of figured with the loss of Jason Peters, the anchor of that offensive line, future Hall of Famer, that's going to be a tough loss. It's going to be a tough loss for the rest of the season. It kind of affects, in a way, the running game, and it affects the protections for Wentz. Now, I'm not saying that Vaitai, won't get better, that this offensive line won't get better as the weeks go on. But at the same time, they are going to miss Peters. For any team, if you're losing your top left tackle, it's going to affect you, at times during the season. And the good news, though, is they got another win. The good news is they're 7-1, and they still control their destiny the rest of the season. And as I said before, just enjoy it. Enjoy week to week, because, there was a lot of talk this week on both sides. There was people in the camp that, this team is just gonna, is gonna win 13 games, 14 games, whatever it is, and home field throughout, and get to the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, and all that. And then there was the camp that said, "Oh, these injuries are really going to crush them. Why does this always happen to us? We're so high, and then here come the injuries, and here comes the slap in the face." I'm kind of in between. I'm not talking. I'm not talking too low. I'm not talking too high. I believe that the injuries are an issue. And it's not just the injury to Peters and to Jordan Hicks, but they have suffered a lot of injuries on this season, and some that we may have already forgotten about, but are pretty key injuries. I mean, Darren Sproles, being out, and they have overcome so much, even with all these injuries, to get to 7-1. And part of that, yes, is the quarterback, and part of that is the way this defense is played. And today, and the weather really wasn't a factor at all, as it turned out. But this defense did what it has done all season long. They took away the run game completely from the 49ers. Again, a rookie quarterback, and you want to take away a bit of a safety valve, right? And the safety valve is a running game. They take it away. They make that team one-dimensional, and you saw the results of that. Yes, the Niners made a few plays here and there, but for the most part, the Eagles' defense dominated this game from start to finish. And my game ball here has got to go to Jalen Mills. The pick six interception at the time, I believe the score was 9-0, and that really set the tone for the rest of the game. Not only that he got the interception, but he was able to return it all the way in for a touchdown. Look, the offense had been struggling, and it was, it almost was like up to Jalen to say, what, I'm just going to take this one myself into the end zone for a touchdown. That was a great pick six by him, and it came at the right time in the game. The 49ers, they have their own issues. Coming into the game 0-7, we know this, right? But the Eagles, one of the things I like about what this team has done is they've handled their own business. In saying that, I mean that they have beaten the teams that they should have beaten so far on the schedule. At the time of seasons that they played them, where they played them, it didn't really matter. It's just they won those games. And how many weeks do we see these teams, even some of the best teams in the league, go into a week in a game that they should have won, and they come out on the other end of it. So I'm happy with the fact the Eagles so far this season have taken care of business against the teams that they should have beaten. You can only play who's on your schedule, and you can't really help what their record is coming into the game that you're playing them in. But the really good teams in this league and the teams that are really good for a number of years handle their own business against teams that are not so good. Teams that are getting off to rocky starts, record-wise or what have you, might not have the talent level to compete, with the upper echelon teams. And the good teams, the really good teams, the teams that make the long, playoff runs year after year, they always seem to handle business against those teams. And I'm glad that the Eagles have done it to this point this season. That's part of the big reason why they're 7-1. They haven't overlooked anybody. And they're going into a week where it's the second of 3 home games. You're playing a winless team. The next week's a big game against Denver. It would have been easy to just overlook the 49ers and kind of lay an egg in this one. And again, offensively, they made some mistakes. There were plays that were left on the field, and there were some sacks, and what have you. And maybe part of that contributed to the fact that the Niners were winless, and maybe they, came out with the mindset that they can just handle business. But the fact that they dominantly won this game 33-10 again shows me that this is a really good team, even with the injuries, going forward. Now look, it's a tough schedule the rest of the way. I mean, you're going to have to play again next week Denver with a really good defense. It is home. So that's the good thing in Denver coming off a short week. They're playing tomorrow night against Kansas City, and I think that might help the Eagles a little bit. But you're playing Denver, and then after the bye, obviously, you're at Dallas. Now, we still don't know about the Zeke Elliott deal, and that's probably going to be something that kind of lingers. Who knows? Unless I heard last week that they said by tomorrow, Monday, it might be known what his status is going to be for the rest of the season. Whether he's in there or not, it is what it is. I mean, we can't control that. But you still got to take care of business against Dallas. Whether they win today or not against Washington, they're still a team that, particularly if Zeke is still there, they're going to be formidable, in this division. So you want to take care of business there. And then obviously have some tough games, going forward as well at the Seahawks, at the LA Rams, 2 teams with really good defenses. And then you take a look at, later in the season, Christmas Day, game against Oakland. And I know they lost to Buffalo pretty badly today, but that's still a team that presents some issues, particularly when you got Khalil Mack running around. So there's going to be some tough games. And this offensive line, I mean, right now, I think they kind of have to connect with one another, even with the loss of Peters, as I said, there's still talent on this offensive line, and they have to, get back to having some sort of consistent play. Yes, the loss to Peters is a big injury, is a big loss, but this offensive line still should be able to, do a good job to keep Wentz upright, which would be a good thing. Look, at times it was a tough game today offensively. They looked sluggish at times, and they had some 3-and-outs, and yeah, I mean it wasn't looking really smooth. But then when it was time to make plays, you saw this offense make plays. Alshon Jeffrey, a big touchdown. Zach Ertz had a touchdown. Now league tying 6th touchdown on the season. Gave Mike Trout the ball afterwards. After he scored. All good things. I mean, this is still an offense that can be a high-powered offense, led, of course, by Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz and, the receiving core and the running backs. There's a lot of talent. The one thing about this offense is who do you cover? Who do you key on? Now, some defenses might say Zach Ertz, but okay, then the receivers make plays, the running backs make plays. There's just so many different options, and there's so many different looks that this offense gives you with so many different personnel packages that come out in the field that opposing defenses really don't know who to key on. And I think that's one of the benefits of this offense, and also the benefit of the quarterback, because he does spread the ball a lot. I mean, he's throwing it to everybody. You get open, he's going to get you the ball 9 out of 10 times. So I think that it still makes this offense very dangerous, and even with the loss to Peters, as long as Vitae, whoever's playing left tackle, can do their job, I mean, Wentz gives time. He's gonna pick you apart. You saw it in the Washington game. You saw it in other games so far this season. He's still going to be an MVP candidate as the season moves on. And might I add, we might have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on our team right now in Fletcher Cox. The way he's played, he's been dominant. I know he missed some time. He missed some games there with the injury. But every game he's played in, he has been dominant. He's been a team wrecker on the other side of the ball. He has just looked tremendous. He had another big game today. And, as the season progresses, as long as he can stay healthy the rest of the way, don't be surprised if you hear his name called as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Doug Peterson could be a Coach of the Year candidate. So I think there are very good things happening for this football team, and very good things, not just for this season, but going forward, that they can certainly build on. I think they're establishing themselves as one of the better teams in the league, maybe a little quicker than people thought. But they've certainly established themselves as one of the upper echelon teams yet again. Obviously, there's a lot of big games ahead on this season. It starts next week against the Broncos. But you take care of business in that game, you're 8-1 going into the bye week. And oh, by the way, you're still undefeated at home. And oh, by the way, if this team gets home field advantage, look out. Because this is turning into a very difficult place to play for any opposing team. And it's a great thing. And look, it's a big game next week. Against the Broncos. The Broncos, I don't know what they'll do tomorrow night with their record. I think they're 3-3 right now. I'm not really sure, but they still have a really good defense. Offensively, I mean, there's question marks there, but the defense is legit. It's one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, they have that no-fly zone secondary, and they're very good against the run. Now, the Eagles are number one against the run. So, this defense isn't chopped liver out there. This defense is making plays. And again, today, they are hitting people. They are absolutely laying the lumber on whoever they go up against. And it's great to see, because in this town, we love a great defense, and we've always loved a great defense. And we've had some really great defensive players over the years that are still, memorialized, with this fan base. It's a great thing to see. It's a great thing to see that this team has a great dominant defense with real, players that become household name players, that become players that, you can root for. You can root for this team. Like, there's a lot of likable guys on this team, and a lot of, not just great athletes, but great human beings on this team. There's not a lot of troublemakers. There's not a lot of drama in the locker room. A guy gets hurt, and it's next man up. Next guy comes in there, makes plays, makes contributions. And that's what you see the great teams do. And again, I'm not saying that these injuries are not a problem. They are. And going forward, this offensive line has got to get, things straightened out. Because today, at times, the Niners' defense was dominating the game when the Eagles had the ball. Now, the Eagles' defense dominated the game when the Niners had the ball, so at times it was like a stalemate. But what that means is that this offensive line has got to come together. And it's going to be tough. I get that. Peters is a big loss. But they're going to have to come together as a collective unit and get some more help for Wentz, be it a tight end, a running back, get some chips out there. Not Kelly. But, to chip and block, do what you have to do. Get the protection coverages right. Particularly against Denver, particularly against Seattle, the Rams, Oakland, teams like that. Even the Bears have a pretty good defense. They're young, but they're pretty solid as a unit. So there's going to be some challenges along the way, but you know what? I think that's going to make this team even stronger. Because when you go into the playoffs, you're not playing, all-ran teams. You're playing teams who earn their way in, just like the Eagles did. So I think the rest of this schedule is going to really show where this team is going forward. And I like the fact that they're going to be playing some top teams. It's almost like those measuring stick type games, right? So I think that I think they're going to fare well. Are they going to win every game? I would love to say yes, but it's tough to do. But I think that they're going to compete in every game, and we're going to see as time goes on where this team stands. But they're looking really good right now. The record shows it, best record in the league. They have handled their business against the teams that they had to handle their business against and should have handled their business against. Like today against the Niners, they handled their business against some teams that were tougher. On the road at Carolina on a Thursday night. You know, they they have played well, and even their loss at Kansas City, they played tough in that game. I mean, it's not like Kansas City pushed them around. So we play the Chiefs again on a neutral site. I like our chances because the Eagles are certainly playing better now than they were in that game. So we'll see. But that's the side down the road. Let's deal with the now, and going into Week 9, it's the Denver Broncos. Speaking of the AFC West team, which again, I know their record. Even if they lose against Kansas City tomorrow and they go below 500 at 3-4, it's still a good football team with a really good defense. And this offensive line is going to continue to be tested against a really good pass rush in Denver, and a good, probably the best secondary they've seen so far in Denver's secondary with corners and safeties. But this is a really good defense too, and don't you think that this defense is going to be looking forward to next week as a challenge, because they're going to be going up against another top defense, and they're going to want to show well against that defense. So it's going to be a defensive battle next week. But I like our chances because I feel our offense will still be able to make more plays than their offense. And the fact that they're home, and the fact that the Broncos will be coming off a short week. And particularly if they win tomorrow, because that's a big win for them against Kansas City. And if they win that game, they might be real high going on, and then who knows? We see it so many times. But of course, if they lose that game, they're going to be really desperate. And desperate teams can be very dangerous teams. So, I love the fact that this team is 7-1 right now. I'm loving what they're doing in the season. I'm not loving all the injuries. I'm not loving that. I know today Robinson got hurt, so possible concussion. So we'll see his status as the week goes on, or what the results are. I'm sure he'll have the results. He'll go in for testing. I would imagine tomorrow, if not later today. But they've overcome a lot to get to 7-1, and they have played really well. Really well. Even today, when the offense wasn't clicking in all cylinders, the defense was. And that's total team. The special teams making plays, right? Barnett with the field goal block. I know I know Elliott missed the 2 extra points, but he made it, 51-yard field goal, becomes the season, the Eagles' season, was it the season record now for most field goals of 50-plus yards in a season by the Eagles kicker. So congrats to him. But hopefully he makes those extra points. Because I'll tell you what, may have been able to get away with it today in a 33-10 game, but next week, can't be missing those extra points there, Jake. You don't want to miss any point in that game, because points are going to be really important and precious next week. So let's not give up points next week. But I'm really happy with where they are. I mean, how can you not? 7-1, best start since, what was it, 04, 05, the last time they went to the Super Bowl. And again, I'm not going to throw that word around, very much here, because it is a week-to-week league. And as we've seen with other teams, you think you're flying high, and the next thing you know, here come a big injury, or a tough stretch where you lose a couple games, and it could be on the other side of it. So I'm not going to look too far ahead. I'm just taking this thing week by week, game by game, and it continues in Week 9 against Denver. So it's a big game coming up again at the Link, and then the bye week, and then we know who's on the docket after that. First meeting of the season. So let's all enjoy this victory, because again, anytime you win in the NFL, it's a good win. We have a week to reflect on it and enjoy it. Again, as we have for the past 5 weeks now, this is 6 in a row. It feels great. Yes, there are things that need to be tightened up on the offense, and they know that, and I think that they will. And I think that this team will continue, on the path that they're going. So great win again today, 33-10 against this continually winless 49ers. Sorry to the Niner Nation out there. Hey, good years are going to come for you guys. Certainly quicker than Cleveland. So take solace into that. Sorry, Cleveland. But you got LeBron, you got the Indians, so you're okay. But anyhow, I also want to wish you all a happy Halloween. Enjoy Tuesday. And, as always, let's go Birds. And I'll see you guys around during the week at some point. I hope to play some of those Eagles games in Madden. I don't know when I'll get to them. Possibly later in the week. I gotta play the Eagles Redskins game, and I gotta play the Eagles Niners game. So I gotta catch up a little bit. But I'll try to get a live stream, at least one live stream done this week. So if I can do so, I'll enjoy you guys joining in on the live stream. Hopefully I can continue to win. Speaking of winning streaks, right? But anyhow, as always, like I said, go Birds, and I'll see you guys around the channel. Take care.